I still remember watching a video of a rocket lifting off for the first time, not on TV but online, and thinking, wow, someone actually built that and it worked. I knew about NASA and the space shuttles, of course, but this felt different. The rocket wasn't government funded or decades in the making. It was built by a private company called SpaceX, founded by Elon Musk, a name that was already floating around tech circles but hadn't yet fully become synonymous with space. The idea that a private company could build rockets and actually put them into orbit was crazy, almost impossible. And yet, that's exactly what SpaceX did. SpaceX started in 2002 in a small office in California. Elon Musk had already made his fortune from PayPal, but instead of retiring or focusing on something safe, he set his sights on space. And not just a little part of space, he wanted to make human life multiplanetary. It sounds like a science fiction, and at times, even the people working at SpaceX probably thought it was. Musk famously invested tens of millions of his own money, poured in every penny he could afford, and risked the company multiple times just to get the first rocket off the ground. That early stage was brutal. Failures were public, dramatic, and expensive. Rockets exploded on the launch pad, prototypes burned, and investors started to lose patience. But Musk and his team kept pushing. One of the most remarkable things about SpaceX was its approach to innovation. Unlike traditional aerospace companies, which were slow, bureaucratic, and heavily government dependent, SpaceX was agile. They embraced failure as a learning tool. Every explosion, every setback wasn't just a loss, it was data. And they iterated quickly, building new prototypes, testing them, and learning faster than anyone else. This philosophy would become their biggest competitive advantage. While NASA and the space companies had budgets in the billions, but moved cautiously, SpaceX was scrappy, fast, and relentless. The first major milestone came in 2008 with the Falcon 1. On the first three attempts, the rocket failed spectacularly, but on the fourth try, it reached orbit. It might not sound like much now, but at that time, it was revolutionary. A privately funded company had put a rocket into space, something that had been almost exclusively the domain of superpower governments. That movement wasn't just technical, it was symbolic. It proved that private ambition combined with determination and smart engineering could compete with decades of institutional experience. Then came the Falcon 9 and the Dragon capsule, designed to carry cargo and eventually humans to space. But SpaceX didn't just want to launch rockets, they wanted to make space travel sustainable. That meant solving one of the biggest challenges in aerospace: reusability. Traditionally, rockets were single use. You'd spend hundreds of millions building a rocket, launch it, and then it would crash into the ocean or burn up. SpaceX thought differently. They designed the Falcon 9 so that the first stage could return to Earth and land vertically, intact, ready to fly again. The first successful landing in 2015 was a moment that felt like magic. People all over the world were watching online as the rocket descended slowly, landed upright, and proved that the impossible was in fact possible. This innovation didn't just save money, it changed the economics of space. By making rockets reusable, SpaceX dramatically lowered the cost of sending satellites, cargo, and eventually humans into orbit. Suddenly, space was accessible not just to governments, but to private companies, universities, and even startups. The doors that had been closed for decades were now wide open. SpaceX also shook up the traditional space industry politically and culturally. They started winning contracts from NASA and the Department of Defense, not just because of their engineering, but because they were doing what no one else could, delivering results faster and cheaper. In 2020, the Crew Dragon mission launched astronauts to the International Space Station, the first time a private company sent humans into orbit. That wasn't just a technical achievement, it was historic. It marked a turning point in how we think about human spaceflight. SpaceX had gone from a scrappy startup to a major player capable of handling the most sensitive and complex missions. But perhaps the most ambitious part of SpaceX's story is Starship and the vision for Mars. Musk has been clear from the beginning. He wants humans on other planets. Starship is designed to carry massive payloads and eventually people to Mars and beyond. It's still in the experimental phase with test flights, explosions, and setbacks, but every failure teaches something. Watching Starship attempts now is almost like watching the earliest days of aviation, risky, uncertain, but full of potential. It's a reminder that the biggest achievements often come from persistence in the face of repeated setbacks. What's fascinating about SpaceX is how it has changed public perception. Space travel used to feel distant, almost abstract. It was the domain of astronauts and scientists, far removed from everyday life. But with SpaceX, the world started paying attention. People streamed launches online, shared videos of rockets, landings, and followed missions in real time. The company made space feel immediate, tangible, and even fun. It inspired a new generation of engineers, dreamers, and entrepreneurs to think bigger than ever before. It also made people rethink what's possible when private companies tackle problems traditionally reserved for governments. Of course, there's controversy too. Elon Musk is a polarizing figure, and SpaceX has faced criticism over labor practices, environmental concerns, and ambitious timelines that sometimes slip. But whether you love him or hate him, it's hard to deny the impact. SpaceX has fundamentally shifted the narrative around space exploration. It has shown that private innovation can complement public programs, that calculated risk can lead to breakthroughs, and that a relentless vision can push humanity forward in ways that once seemed impossible. SpaceX's story also highlights the human side of innovation. It's not just rockets, maths, and engineering. It's perseverance, risk-taking, and belief. The engineers working around the clock, the test pilots, the support staff, they all contribute to something that's bigger than any one person. It's about collective ambition and the idea that when people work together towards a seemingly impossible goal, the results can be transformative. Looking back, it's incredible to see how far SpaceX has come in just 2 decades. From so many failures to rockets landing upright. Astronauts launched from American soil by a private company, and the promise of humanity reaching other planets. It's a story that feels like a blend of science fiction and reality, and the lessons go beyond aerospace. SpaceX reminds us that no industry is too entrenched, no problem too big, and no dream too far-fetched. When people are willing to work tirelessly, embrace failure, and think differently. At its core, SpaceX isn't just about rockets or technology, it's about possibility. It's about reminding people that the boundaries we accept are often the ones we create ourselves. It's about showing that with vision, perseverance, and courage, humanity can achieve things that were once considered impossible. And maybe in just the next few decades, we'll be looking back at this era as the moment space became human again. Not just something we watch from a distance, but something we live, something we explore and experience. SpaceX turned science fiction into real-life space travel. But more than that, it turned audacious dreams into something tangible, inspiring millions of people to look up at the sky and imagine what's next. And that, I think, is the real magic of the story.